The plan is to finally dive into the next stage of this project today. My beautiful girlfriend is going to be helping me fix her car. This shouldn't be too much trouble. Definitely shouldn't have said that. Couple of 1,000 miles left on these, cat.
And put into position the wrong way at first.
Now, no harsh braking. Don't let any idiots drive the car. Not including me, obviously.
And I tried using a bit of sandpaper.
Cat had a bit of grief with Roger, the plastic Fiesta. Someone reversed into her, accusing me of having an attitude, and then he started like squaring up to me and whatnot. The heater bowl is pretty much riddled with holes. Hello and welcome to this video. I'm Marcus Hayes, and when I broke the wire for my microphones recently, I actually broke my media mod. The socket where the wire goes into is mullered. It's the second time I've done that, so apologies if the audio isn't quite as good as in previous videos. Now, before I start today, I want to send a massive thanks and a shout out to a guy called Gary, who very kindly sent me a care package the other day. Now, I can't actually tell you guys what he sent me, but yeah, massive thanks to you, Gary, if you're watching. Now, today I've got Heidi, one of my moredoor Mk2 Escorts, out of her garage, and the plan is to finally dive into the next stage of this project today. But first, we've got to give Roger, the plastic Fiesta, some TLC, and my beautiful girlfriend Kat is round here because yeah, she's going to be helping me fix her car. So today we're going to be fitting some new front brake pads to Roger. I've never done brakes on a Mark 8 Fiesta before. In fact, I've only done an oil and filters change on a Mark 8 Fiesta when we did a service on Roger not too long ago. But yeah, I'm guessing that the brakes are just going to be like any other brakes on any other car, really. We picked up these Pagid brake pads from Euro Car Parts. You know, there's no wires on them, so there's no sort of wear indicators to plug in. They just look like normal brake pads. So yeah, this shouldn't be too much trouble. Definitely shouldn't have said that.
After cracking off the wheel bolts, we jacked up the car, lowered it onto some axle stands, and then removed both front wheels. Then, to allow the pistons in the brake calipers to be wound back, we removed the cap from the brake fluid reservoir. With the retaining clip removed from the driver's side caliper, I then located the two bolts that I needed to undo, which were hidden behind these caps. I used an Allen key socket to undo the bolts, and then a screwdriver to slide them out of the way. I pulled the caliper away from the disc and placed it onto an axle stand, and then I was able to remove the brake pads.
Couple of 1,000 miles left on these, cat.
I cleaned everything up with some brake cleaner and a wire brush, and then I put a little bit of copper grease on the brake pad where it slides within the caliper. The new thicker pad wouldn't fit in the caliper without winding the piston back, which I did with a G-clamp. Then I was able to press the pad in. The other pad was then greased up and put into position the wrong way at first, and then I was able to slide the caliper back over the brake disc, refit the two bolts, and the retaining clip, and the dust covers for the bolts. With the passenger side also done, it was time to clean up the brake discs with brake cleaner, refit the wheels, refit the brake fluid reservoir cap, and then we tested the brakes before lowering the car back down and making sure that the wheel bolts were tight.
Right, now no harsh braking for at least 200 miles. So that means don't let any idiots drive the car. Not including me, obviously. All right, so my beautiful girlfriend has gone to Screwfix to grab me some bits that I'm going to be using on Heidi. And I know loads of you guys out there have been waiting patiently for me to crack on with this project. It's been over a year, actually, since this thing went to Clump Fab to have some rust repair. Massive shout out to Chris Kember at Clump Fab if you're watching. But yeah, as I've mentioned loads of times on the channel, the next stage of this project is to focus on getting inside the engine bay, inside the boot, and the door shuts painted. The way I see it is when them bits are painted, I'll be able to pretty much put almost the whole car together. You know, with the engine bay painted, I'll be able to do things like make up the brake lines. Obviously I'll be able to get an engine and get that ready to fit and fit that. You know, once inside the boot is done, I'll be able to paint up the fuel tank and put the fuel tank in, run new fuel lines, etc, etc. And yeah, I'm not going to worry about the outside. If, you know, I don't paint the outside straight away, it means I ain't got to worry about scratching it when I'm pushing it in and out of the garage. So yeah, I'm going to stick to the plan, and that is to focus on getting the engine bay inside the boot and the door shuts painted. Now, at some point, this engine bay has been primered, and to be honest, I'm guessing it hasn't had that much of a bad job, because, you know, there isn't loads of rust coming through or anything. There is obviously little scabs here and there, which is to be expected. Hopefully we won't find any holes as I start digging into this. Down here you can see the seam where Chris Kemba did some of the welding. This was probably the most awkward bit of welding that he had to do, because basically the inner wing behind this chassis leg was gone. So yeah, that had to be replaced. So I'll be chucking a bit of fiberglass filler in these areas, just to make things, you know, hide the job, make it look sort of original. But yeah, essentially I'm just going to be diving into this, bare metaling pretty much the whole engine bay, you know, knocking back any surface rust that I find along the way, and then eventually I can give it a thorough degrease and then a coat of epoxy primer. So I'm going to be digging into the engine bay with these wire brush things that go on a drill. These are going to dig right into the metal, get rid of any rust scabs that I do come across, and yeah, they're going to make, you know, they're going to leave the surface nice and rough for the epoxy primer to bite into. So yeah, I've got wire brush things like this. I've got one of these sort of, I think they're called black carbon stripper things. A couple of these flat wheels, you know, they're good for, you know, if I find any sort of really heavy scabs of rust. But yeah, Kat's gone to Screwfix to get me some more bits like this to get the job done. So yeah, I'm going to dive into this straight away and get as much done as I can before I run out of light today. But before I do, I think I'm going to remove Heidi's bonnet and her front wings just to make the job easier. These wings were obviously converted to bolt-on by Chris Kemba at Clump Fab when the welding was done, and there's actually only a few bolts in each one, and yeah, the bonnet's only held on with 4 bolts. So yeah, I'm going to get these removed and I'll chuck them in my dad's garage out of the way, and then we'll dive into bare metal in this engine bay.
The wire brushes were doing a great job of grinding away the rust scabs, although it was very time consuming. And I tried using a bit of sandpaper on the areas that didn't look like they had any rust scabs. I dug out all the seam sealer that I came across, because this can be reapplied later on, and then when I started digging at the heater bubble, I found rust holes.
Alright, well, as you would have just seen, I found some rust holes. But before I show you that, I actually had to quickly pack Heidi away and rush off, because Kat had a bit of grief with Roger the plastic Fiesta. She went shopping locally because I was only going to be around here for a few hours, and yeah, then I remembered I needed some cure rust, so I asked her to go to the local Halfords to grab some of that, and then someone reversed into her while she was in the car park. Now, as it turned out, the woman that was driving didn't speak English, the person that was with her didn't speak English, and then they had called a family member who did speak English, some guy, and then yeah, Kat was in a situation where the guy was trying to offer to pay cash for the repair, apparently works in a repair place, etc, etc, and yeah, Kat felt sort of intimidated, so she rang me. Luckily, my good friend Fred, sometimes known as Lee, was here, but he had his motorbike, so he rushed off to get his mum's car while I was packing Heidi away, and we went down there. And yeah, at the end of the day, Roger is a finance car. It's financed from Ford, it's insured with Ford, so I just said, look man, it needs to be fixed by Ford. And the guy was like, oh, I'll pay you £500 and I'll repair the car. And, you know, and we was like, no. And then he's like, oh, you know, I don't want my mum to get a bad insurance record, etc. And I was like, look, man, we want it fixed by Ford. Like, it's a finance car. Kat needs to give it back in about a year's time. You know, it needs to, you know, be sort of standard condition, you know. Then he sort of started accusing me of having an attitude, and then he started like squaring up to me and whatnot. And when that didn't work, he then wanted to give us £1,000 and fix the car, and we were like, no, like, it's going for the insurance. He refused to give us any details. We just about got the lady who he said was his mum's name out of him, but wouldn't give us the address. Yeah, got photos of the damage and whatnot, and said, look, we're going for the insurance. So yeah, not an ideal situation, you know, having someone basically getting in your face and almost threatening you just because you want to go through the insurance when, you know, their mum or whoever it was has crashed into you. But I'll show you the damage when Kat comes back. She has now gone to finish the shopping that she wasn't able to crack on with. And just as we were arguing with matey, Halford's closed, so I didn't get my cure rust. But yeah, let me show you where I've got with Heidi. So I've just given the engine bay a hoover so you can see exactly where I'm at. As you would have just seen, I did find that the heater bowl is pretty much riddled with holes. We had a little hole like this on Esther and it was a nightmare to weld up. We did end up welding up, but yeah, it's a nightmare. It just kept burning through and stuff. So I think the only option for me really is to remove this heater bowl. Then I'll be able to, you know, get to this sort of rust around this area better, and yeah, just weld on another heater bowl. Although I'm wondering, would it be an absolute crime to just bond the new heater bowl on? Because I don't have a welder and I don't think it's really structural, is it? Yeah, let me know in the comments. I'm actually going to need to probably remove the heater bowl from Esther at some point. She's got a bit of rust coming through over here, which means we're going to have to remove this hinge piece, repair that, and I'm kind of thinking I should remove Esther's heater bowl and fit a carbon one, and then just get like this whole area painted. But that's enough about Esther. Let's carry on looking at the state of Heidi. Now, as you would have seen, I was mainly concentrating on, you know, the seams and the edges and stuff. All these flat areas I'll be able to do with my DA sander when I pick up the new pad for it, which should be literally in a couple of days. So yeah, I've been focusing on, you know, the edges, the bits where the DA sander can't get to. These areas here are fine, you know. They were all bare metaled and primered when Chris Kember put these RS top plates on. And I think in general, I don't think I'm going to properly bare metal this whole engine bay, to be honest. You know, a lot of these flat areas, I'll probably just tickle them with the DA and just see if any scabs come up, and then I'll, you know, focus on them. But I think mainly I'm just going to focus around the edges, and wherever there is scabs, the battery tray behind this primer, yeah, it looks like it's quite pitted, so that'll need quite extensive work. And as I've already mentioned in this video, I do need to do some fiberglass work and stuff where the welds are. But yeah, I think this engine bay is going to get a major key, and then I'll just deal with whatever rust scabs I do come across while I'm doing that. But yeah, I think it's inevitable that it's going to have a new heater bowl. This area in this corner, there's quite a few scabs and stuff. Still need to dig in there a bit better, to be honest. But then this side wasn't as bad. There is a couple of little areas I need to tickle. But yeah, this is going to take time. I was hoping today to put some cure rust on the areas that I think are, you know, as good as they're going to get, like this area, for instance. But I haven't got any. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it as it is for now. It's not going to be left for ages and ages and ages, so it's not going to go super rusty. And yeah, if I have to tickle everything, you know, one last time, so be it. And then it will get degrease, some cure rust wherever the little pits are, and then some epoxy primer. But yeah, still plenty of work to do. Well, my beautiful girlfriend Kat is back from shopping. Let me show you the damage. It's actually not that bad really, but it's still damaged. And yeah, let's just hope that those people actually have insurance. But yeah, with a brand new car like this, you know, why shouldn't it go to Ford to be repaired? You know, you got it from Ford, you're insured with Ford. Yeah, it'll be fixed one way or another. Let's just hope that the old lady that was driving drives a bit more careful in future. Anyway, while I was waiting for Kat to come back, I actually decided to give the whole engine bay a key with 180 grit sandpaper, which was going to be sort of the last stage after I've dealt with all the little scabs and stuff. But I thought while I was waiting for Kat, I might as well do it. There was loads of sort of specks of this stone chip or whatever it is that the guy I bought it off, Daniel, has put on the underneath. You can see it sort of comes up to here. Definitely not going to be looking to strip it all the way back, you know, up to here is you know, low enough. But yeah, there was loads of like specks of it everywhere, so me keying up has sort of got rid of most of them. You know, the whole thing is still going to be hit with a DA, so there's still plenty more smoothing to do. I did give it another hoover after the key up, and I've just given it a wipe with degreaser, and you can sort of see what's what. It probably looks worse, you know, on the camera because now there's less grey, you know, where obviously I've been sanding, so it's taken away some of whatever the primer is that they've used. But yeah, most of it is all right, you know. It will just be keyed and then primered and then painted. But yeah, right now I'm going to pack everything away and then we can get out of here. All right, so we're on our way home, and even though it's not dark yet, it's coming up to 8 o'clock. So yeah, really cool that the days are now getting longer and longer as we move towards summer. Really gutting that Roger sustained some damage today, but yeah, hopefully there's no issues with the insurance and stuff. Really hope that that lady that was driving was actually insured. Yeah, we'll keep you updated with whatever does happen. Quite gutted that I found the rust holes in Heidi's heater bubble today, but the heater bubbles are available. You know, it's another stage towards getting the engine bay painted, but it is what it is. And yeah, still got quite a lot of boring prep work to go through before I can actually get that epoxy primer on. Kat said that Roger's new brakes are working well, so that's at least one positive from today. But yeah, I can't wait to get stuck back into Heidi's engine bay. I know loads of you have been waiting for me to actually pull my finger out with that car, and I do intend to keep at it. But yeah, I'm going to end this video here. If you did think it was any good, please do give it a thumbs up and a share. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Click subscribe if you're new, and activate the notification bell to be kept up to date with all my future uploads. For official Marcus Hayes merchandise and parts, check out my website. Feel free to follow me on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok. Massive thanks to my patrons for your ongoing support, and all the links for all of that lot will be in the description as usual, along with my email address for anyone who wants to contact me. But other than that, until next time, from me and my beautiful girlfriend Kat, thanks for watching.